Welcome to the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. This is your number one crypto podcast to hear directly from the movers and shakers, innovators, and disruptors in the cryptocurrency industry. Follow on Twitter for updates and to communicate directly at Woof Big Dawg. That's at Woof Big DAWG. Now, here is your host, the one and only Big Dawg Crypto.
And welcome to the latest episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, Big Dawg Crypto. On this episode, we are talking to Sean Hagan with the Bitcoin conference, the man to tell us what's going on. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so good to be on here, Patrick. I appreciate you having me on Big Dawg Crypto. I'm excited for having you as an affiliate. I know that you have a very loyal fan base that you expressed you want to make sure is taken care of and advocated for. So we got code set up so that if they're interested by what we talk about today, they can get a discount and avoid paying full price. I'm sure you'll have that link below. But yeah, I'm excited about the event. And I'm more excited to talk to you about it today.
Well, absolutely, and I'll give that in a second. I want to add. Let's get right though into the conference. Let me just share. So I tell the audience, I've been to the past several conferences in Miami. The past few years, had a great time. I've been fortunate enough to go around the world to different conferences, and I would say that the Bitcoin conference has been my favorite, just because there is so much going on. There's so many people there that you could talk to, that and then everybody who's there basically discussing Bitcoin and why it matters. Let me ask you this: probably the biggest thing this year. There's a lot of big things, but we're going from Miami, where it's been amazing, and Nashville is a pretty amazing city too. Why the move?
That's the $1 million question. It seems like everyone's asking that, and I gotta tell you, but I am so happy for this move. I'm a Nashville guy, like we discussed off camera. I'm wearing a Preds shirt right now. We had a huge, free agency day yesterday for the Predators, but Nashville is the move. The move is the show was always meant to kind of be on the road, right? Like if you look at our website, our company mission statement is to drive the world towards hyper-Bitcoinization. And can we really do that if we're in one city, especially a city like Miami that you could argue is one of, if not the most orange-pilled cities in the world, right? I mean, outside of El Salvador, perhaps. But, the mayor is pro-crypto, really understands Bitcoin. And can you really drive towards hyper-Bitcoinization if we just kind of stay in that echo chamber, right? And so we view this kind of bringing Bitcoin on a world tour and all the things that the conference can facilitate. And Nashville is a place that's alive, right? I mean, it's the number one tourist destination for several years now in the United States. It's one of, if not the fastest growing cities in America. So it's a very exciting city that people seem to be wanting to go to anyway. It's a city that seems to be aligned culturally with a lot of what Bitcoiners like to align themselves with freedom and eating beef and this kind of ethos of what the Bitcoiners like to at least portray themselves and aspire towards. So it just lines up on so many different reasons, and it's a fun city on top of that.
And it is. And to share with the audience, I mean, obviously we have a worldwide audience. Nashville is absolutely one of the fastest growing metro areas in the United States. And obviously worldwide known as a city, as a big city. But let me ask you this too. So we're going from Miami, we're going to Nashville. But when it comes to the amount of speakers, the other thing I've noticed is you all have always had great speakers, big speakers. Is it just me, or it feels like the lineup this year is kind of like growing a lot? Like you're seeing not just a lot of just well-known names from the industry, but the political aside, right? You've got them showing up left and right, which and we're getting to like a tangent here, but I want to kind of bring this together of why the politicians are realizing on left and right, independent, all parties, they need to accept this innovation. So can you tell me from your point of view there? I mean, we had a lot of speakers before, but y'all have really kicked it up a notch here.
Yeah, we've certainly cranked it up a notch, right? I mean, we have some local representation. We have senators from the state of Tennessee with Bill Hagerty and Marsha Blackburn, who understand Bitcoin at a high level. We're excited to have them on stage speaking. We're going to have obviously the Robert Kennedy, the Vivek Ramaswamy's on more of a national level. And I think that it's natural, right? I mean, Bitcoin is maturing rapidly. And I think that the work that organizations like the Bitcoin Policy Institute are doing is really helping to drive that, as well as political leaders, like Lummis, and also on the world stage, like Bukele, right? I mean, I think that a lot of it is just following the example that that these political leaders are setting, and also with the industry maturing, right? I think that a lot of people are realizing, wait, this FTX thing happened and it was nasty, but Bitcoin is still standing. Bitcoin is still here. Bitcoin isn't an exchange or FTX or an organization or an entity. It's its own different thing, and people still believe in it. Why is that? And why are these Bitcoin miners coming to Texas and showing us how beneficial it is for the grid? And I think that the more storms we weather as a community, and the more examples we see to point towards on the political sphere, it only makes sense that these people are getting more and more, their competencies are rising and they're becoming more and more involved. And so we're super excited to be hosting these people.
Of all the ones you mentioned, and there's so many more coming this year. I was there when RFK spoke last year, and I mean it was electric. It was like a rock concert. Like he got such a round of applause. That was amazing. And that's the thing. There's a lot of energy, and I share this with people that I've talked to that say, well, I kind of want to go to a conference, but I haven't. I always say this: go to if you're in crypto and you're in the digital asset space, I mean, you watch up and you're a proponent of Bitcoin, right? And it matters to you, okay? Go to the conference. Now, of course, this is the biggest conference related to Bitcoin, obviously the Bitcoin conference. But you will just find so many people that you've talked to online or you've followed or you've been interested in. They're going to be there, right? There's just so much of a turnout for there. And so I would say, get from behind the computer, get there, in person, and you're going to have a really good time. Another thing too, y'all always have a lot of interesting events, right? I mean, I'm talking like when you walk out from the main hall. I mean, there's all kind of different things, and it's almost like a festival atmosphere. But it really is. It's like a Bitcoin festival atmosphere. Kind of an interesting thing here. How do you decide? Because I know there's so many different things you can have out there. How do you decide to put out in the outside areas and all the interesting things that people, you know what I mean? I've seen some wild stuff. Amazing. But how do you decide?
We have an awesome production team that puts all these things together. It's an incredible team that's been here for a very long time. I mean, these are guys that have been in Bitcoin since, you had to buy it peer to peer, right? So they understand the space and the crowd. And I think that's kind of what contributes to that festival feel, right? Like our general admission ticket is called the festival pass, right? That's a very intentional feeling that you're feeling. And, when it comes to kind of designing these things, I think that a lot of it is just knowing, being in tune with the community and knowing what the community wants. And also we have inbound forms where people can request, hey, I have an idea. I want to bring this to the event, or, hey, I want to throw this party or do this activation. And so, I mean, we read every single one of those and we think it over. And if we think it's cool and the community is going to like it, we're all about it, right? I mean, like you said, this is the Bitcoin conference. It's where everyone's coming together. It's a wide array from the political side we just touched on all the way to the plebs, right? The general populace, that we want to make sure they have a good time and really enjoy their experience too. I mean, this year we're going to have some incredible activations. The location couldn't be better this year. It's one street off of Lower Broadway. If you don't know anything about Nashville, Google Nashville Lower Broadway.
And that's the main area, though. I mean, isn't that the main area to go out?
Area, right? I mean, this is where all the honky tonks are. It's the place, right? This is the reason people come here. And between the event and that Lower Broadway is a little city park. It's a one-block park. And we have that booked out for the whole week. We're going to have live music. It's going to be a festival. Nice. It's gonna be incredible. So there's going to be no shortage of festivities this year.
So let me ask you this: how long has the Bitcoin conference been going on?
The Bitcoin conference has been going on since way before I was in Bitcoin. I know that. So it started with the Bitcoin Magazine folks. They decided, we want to expand into events. Right. I think that it was 2019. Don't quote me on that. But it was 2019, if not earlier. So they've been doing it for a very long time. But yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where it started off really small, right? It was just Bitcoin Magazine wanting the community involved, and then obviously there's a little bit of that kind of first movers aspect. Obviously there were other cryptocurrency conferences, but we were one of, if not the first, to say no. Like, we want to hone in on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah,
Bitcoin,
absolutely.
Real innovation is a difference maker. We want a place where Bitcoiners can get together. And so luckily the community has embraced us, and every year it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and better and better.
Well, it's interesting you say 2019, because remember that was right before COVID. And when all that happened, you really just, what I remember, it was really just kind of getting off the ground and getting known, and then had to deal with that, as many businesses did, right? With kind of, having to kind of regroup and come back. And then y'all came back very strong. Like I said, Miami has been absolutely amazing, and looking forward to checking out Nashville. But yeah, you're right about that. Now, you want to touch on too, in particular, there's different conferences around the world. This is particularly, as it says, the Bitcoin conference, right? This is not altcoins, stuff like that. We are literally, this is to talk about Bitcoin and why it matters. And I think it's fair to say, right? Because in this space, there's so many types of people, and there's people that might, do different things, but the fundamental reason of why they got into this, right? Of why it matters comes down to, as they say, the king, Bitcoin, as what it does, what it represents, and why it matters. Like you mentioned, on the world stage, it's spreading. There's no doubt about that. Now, have y'all had the president of El Salvador before? I'm trying to remember. I think you did, right?
So look, our conference, it's the CES of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin isn't Apple, right? They can't have their developer day, right? But I would proudly and truthfully argue that we are the closest thing to that for Bitcoin, right? I mean, this is where Jack Mallers gives his big yearly updates on Strike. This is where Bukele announced legal tender for his country, for his
you're right. Okay,
at our event, right? I mean, this is where the biggest names in the entire space come to say what's new and get it out into the world, and where teams launch products and where people network and ideas launch out of. This is where we have pitch days where companies receive funding and venture funds will meet with different startups, and it's life-changing events happen at the Bitcoin Conference.
And it's interesting because I remember he did announce it about accepting in El Salvador as legal currency. That was there, talking about making major news. Do you want to talk as far as this year about some of the speakers? People, they do want to hear the speakers. I'd like to let the audience know who some of the speakers are. Of course, they can go to the website and look at it there. And we want to make sure to give that a couple of times before I end the podcast. But let's ask that real quick. Speakers this year, what are some of the ones you'd like to highlight or maybe mention that you're excited to have?
Yeah, we have... off the top of the head, we have Russell Brand, which is massive. I mean, he's an incredibly popular guy.
Yeah, that's the actor. Yeah, real good
Russell Brand, right? I remember he was in Bedtime Stories as a kid. I loved that movie.
Yeah,
but no, he's become an incredible thought leader. Obviously he's a little bit controversial. I can't say I agree with everything, but I think his heart's in the right place, and I think his head's in the right place on a lot of different things, right? I think that it's interesting to see people like that start to embrace Bitcoin and kind of understanding their backgrounds and why they're coming to it. And, obviously on the more traditional Bitcoiner side of things, we have Kathy Woods, we have Michael Saylor. I'm incredibly excited to say we have Edward Snowden. That's something that, I definitely like to brag about. Not everyone can get Edward Snowden to speak at their event. We have Bill Miller. For people that love Bitcoin or crypto YouTube, we have the Altcoin Daily guys speaking. We have a lot of these people from all these different avenues. I mean, for fighters, even we have Ben Askren, right? He's been a long time Bitcoin advocate. We have D++, if you're more into kind of the coding side of Bitcoin, the technical side. She's a Bitcoin core developer. Dan Held, a long-term Bitcoin OG. David Zell from the Bitcoin policy side of things. So, I'm trying to name a
lot of big names. Yeah, but there's a lot of
different avenues, right? I mean, it's there's going to be a session or there's going to be a speech for everybody, right?
Well, that's the thing.
There's something that's going to interest you,
that's the thing, is that there's going to be somebody talking about just about every aspect of Bitcoin, and it's going to be there. So, looking forward to this year. Let me ask you this, and you brought like Russell Brand as an example, someone like that who's a major movie star. I think what's interesting is that when he talks about it, right, then he can read, because the whole goal, I think we could all say, right, is that because a lot of people know more about it, obviously, now as each year goes on. But you want people that normally didn't talk about it to kind of talk about it to their followers or people that watch them, because that at least gets, because I think like anybody would say, whether you like it or not, you don't know about it, at least listen to why it matters and make your own decision, right? And I think as people find out, we talk about, orange pilling them, I mean, then they find out. But someone like that brings new people, and that's always good. What would you say are the goals, let's just say, of this year's conference? And it's kind of a general question, right? But you want people to come have a good time. I get that. But what would you tell people is the main goal? If somebody says, I'm on the fence, I'm thinking about going, but they're asking you, what's the, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the main reason I should go?
Yeah, man. I mean, the goal for us is always going to be hyper Bitcoinization, right? And so what that looks like each year, it's different, right? I mean, this is our first year in a new city, first year in a long time. We had previously had it out in California, brought it to LA for a long time. Now it's in Nashville.
Right.
I'd say the goals are to really highlight all the different aspects of the current conversations in Bitcoin, right? You have the, are ordinals and BRC20s and runes spam, right? Or are they legitimate thing to be doing with Bitcoin, all right? That's very much a conversation happening that'll be addressed at the conference. We have Bitcoin is on the ballot this year, right? We have a lot of politicians already and likely more to be announced. So stay tuned for that.
Well, wait, can I ask you something? And you don't have to, I mean, if it's okay.
Yeah.
Is there any chance you think Trump comes?
I think that would be lovely. But we'll have to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always tell this. I get a lot of messages from people around the world, and I've always said, at least being here in the States, it's whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent. I think what you want to see is the politicians of all parties, right? Give us regulation and basically things that make sense, or at least show people for people that are operating in the crypto industry in the States. And so, Democrats, Republicans, they're both realizing now. We can see this year it is definitely an election issue where they've got to recognize that their constituents, right? People voting for them on both sides of the aisle. This is so important. Want to see just common sense, legislation, and I don't want to see the SEC handling things like they have and whatnot. Bitcoin, I think it's fair to say, cannot be stopped. Okay, it is worldwide, and as much as I love the States, I'm here in the States. We are a worldwide community, right? And everybody can use it. That's not ever going to be stopped. But we just want to see. I'm saying, as people, at least here, this is my personal point of view. You just want to see, regulations or whatnot, or laws that basically don't try and cripple. And even you look at things like mining and stuff, just let it flow as it should type thing. So when I say that, because there's always people that I said, I don't care who the politician is, some like them, some don't. I would say we want all politicians, especially here in the States, to please, just talk about it and just be common sense about the open. So when I say, I just think that would bring a lot of attention. That's sure. But I just want to see him there talking about, I love to see. Let's get him and Biden there together talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever.
Yeah, hey, we should host the third debate, right?
Yeah.
But no, yeah. I mean, look, our admittedly, I'm totally siloed off from our programming team. It's something that I agree with your sentiment on. Our programming team does a wonderful job, and they certainly are very aligned with our mission, right? That's one thing I'm very proud of, right? Is I not to throw shade at anybody at all, right? I realize that at the end of the day, events are a business.
Right.
But one thing I'm particularly proud of that we do is our programming team, which is who decides who's on stage when, is totally separate from our partnerships, our marketing, like everything, right? So there's no, it's very easy in the world of events probably to have sponsorship dollars or all these impact who's on stage, right? And that's something we just don't do. And so, it's really cool that, anyone you see on our website on the speaker list, it's going to be people that, we think have a valid voice, understand Bitcoin at a high enough level to speak to actual Bitcoiners, and they're going to be aligned with the goal of driving towards hyper Bitcoinization. Sometimes we might even invite a Bitcoin skeptic or a Bitcoin bear to come on a panel and hear out their counter arguments. But yeah, I agree, man. Anytime you get a chance to bring somebody that's going to kind of expand that Overton window and make Bitcoin more acceptable and normalized to talk about, I think that's an unbelievable thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing I just want to add to that is that, having been to several conferences and watching people, even when RFK came and got a standing ovation, the Bitcoin conference doesn't pick sides. They pick people, right, from all sides that are going to talk and at least understand, right, be willing to listen. And I think that's so important because at the end of the day, you're not trying to be, I'm not just saying you, I'm saying anybody, if you're trying to just share why Bitcoin matters, you combative, like you're trying to let them know. And so what I love that the Bitcoin conference does is it just brings people and lets them talk and discuss. And you have just like rational, good, like productive discussions about it. And I've always felt cool being there. Like I've enjoyed that, right? And that's what I think Bitcoin conference really does. And you do it very well. So I think that's a good thing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's something we actually try to do. So thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let me do real quick. And I'm going to have the code at the bottom here, but if you want to, you can save 10% on tickets. You get them today. Go to the website. Now I ask you, the website is?
It's beat.tc/conference/2024.
Okay. And also you can find it on X at, Bitcoin conference?
At Bitcoin Conf.
Okay. And if you can do that, if you use my code is Big Dawg, BIG Dog, DAWG, and save 10%. So last kind of final question, the food. You have a lot of food vendors there and stuff like that. Can you pay in crypto for the food?
You can. Everything on site.
Bitcoin for the food,
Books, whether it's merchandise, we're gonna have a lot of cool T-shirts, swag. We have a lot of incredible authors that are going to be there. Anything from the books to the food, you can pay with Bitcoin, right? So step into the world of post-Bitcoinization. Let yourself feel what that's going to be like on site. And you can even pay for your ticket in Bitcoin, guys. If you want to get your ticket to the event, you can pay in Bitcoin. Ticket prices are going up this Friday. So don't wait. We're going to be having ticket prices every week. We're so close to the event now. I really want you all to get a really good deal. And the best deal you can get right now is to use code Big Dawg.
Yep. I like that. Please. I appreciate that. And let me ask you this one final kind of personal question. You're going nonstop. Anytime you're a few weeks out from the event, it's going to be nonstop. What kind of stuff do you like when you're not working, which is probably not often? What's the personal thing that you like to do, Sean? Like, what's something you like to do for your spare time?
Man, so, I thought that the answer to that was going to be podcasting. I have a YouTube channel if anyone wants to check it out. I know I've uploaded a video with D++. I'm sitting on a couple like with Jimmy's Song and some NFL players and things like that. So maybe I'll upload them. Maybe I never will. But
you should.
I discovered I'm too busy for that. I have a lot of admiration for what you do. People don't realize how much time and hours go into prepping for these things and editing. And so, especially right now around conference time, I just want to relax, man. So, I'll give a shout out. This hat I'm wearing, it's a company called Ground Heads. It's a local cigar company here in Nashville. I'm a big advocate for their products. I'm a cigar enthusiast. I wasn't until COVID, and then I just kind of discovered the beauty of cigars with my dad sitting around a fire pit. It's kind of an excuse to have some really meaningful conversations, and it's a very meditative practice. So I've definitely grown an affinity for cigars over the past couple of years. When I just need a break and an excuse to have the electronics away and sit down and have a good conversation.
Nice. Gotta like that. Well, if people want to get in touch, one final thing, what's the best way to get in touch with you with the conference? Where do you tell them to go?
Go to the website. We have actually we have a contact tab at the top, a little get in touch button. Just press that. One of us will see it, and we'll be back to you.
Okay, thanks so much. The Bitcoin conference is coming up. We're looking forward to coming to Nashville. It's going to be a great time. End of July, and the exact dates are, just to let everybody know,
July 25th through 27th. So July 25th is Industry Day. If you have an industry pass, it's a great day to network and meet other industry players. If you're just going to have the festival pass, or kind of that general attendance, which is what I always like to do, the 26th and the 27th are the 2 days that's going to be going on.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. So go in if you could get it. Code Big Dawg, Big DAWG. And we'll look forward to seeing you there. I'll be there. I'll be roaming the floor doing the podcast. I always enjoy it. And I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast.
Absolutely. It's a privilege. And I look forward to seeing this along with all your other awesome content. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. All right. The latest episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. We'll see you at the Bitcoin Conference in Nashville.
You've been listening to the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. Follow on Twitter at WoofBigDawg. Woof, Big DAWG. And run faster than the competition. Woof, woof.